beloved friends. Welcome to another I Am Me Fearless Soul podcast from yours truly, Anaiya Sophia. Today, I would like to bring you into contact with where we live. We live in a very remote, abundant, and magical corner of France that we call Sacred France, and for those in the know, we also call the other world. I don't want to tell you about history, dates, or facts. I want to bring you into contact with a living presence that remains here despite numerous efforts to try to extinguish this presence. But it remains, it lives on, it grows stronger. Our region is unspoilt, untainted, and unblemished, despite the 2 crusades that passed through this land, searching and seeking out this presence. It is almost as if those that martyred themselves took their wisdom with them into the land where it was kept, absorbed and hidden, and given back to those who walk, who pray, who listen, and who communes with nature in a way that marks the respect and honor that nature truly deserves. Our land is a hologram of layer upon layer upon layer of history. History whose presence is felt, occasionally seen out of the corner of your eye, sometimes even smelt, as if something is carried on the air, trying to remind you and call you back to something. We have 2 sacred mountains here. One of them is the sacred mountain of Occitan, and the other the sacred mountain of Catalan. Our mountain, Bugarash, is masculine in presence, and as far as I can see and feel, the only masculine sacred vortex in the region, upon which the numerous other magical sites spiral and dance and spin what needs to be spun to initiate, to transform, and to reveal. The Catalan sacred mountain, Canigou, to me feels incredibly feminine and comes, of course, with endless tales of mystery, legend, and myth. In the numerous valleys down below, you have thick, fecund forests that hide ancient Celtic, maybe even older, stone circles. We know that the Celts were here, erecting their own symbolic maps in these regions. But I feel it goes way back, older still. The forests are alive with things you cannot see. Fairy folk, elves, goblins. I've seen goblins. Some speak passionately of dragons and other mythological creatures. I do know one thing. The presence is aware of your every footstep, of your every thought, and of your every feeling. And the presence brings forth a precise and sacred initiation for you at a level you can just about receive. To live here in this vortex is to awaken, to grow, to peel often and deeply. There is a kind of love affair that happens with the people who come here, the people who live here, and the land. We don't just admire its beauty. We fall passionately, worshipfully in love with its beauty. And that love, I believe, takes the scales from our eyes, and suddenly we can see. Suddenly we are in the other world, where truth, healing, and expansion are gifted. What do I mean by the other world? I mean our regular, three-dimensional world that we all know and hopefully love is being overlapped by a phenomena that can be measured. Another world, another dimension, another frequency. And where these two worlds meet is where we live. The Pyrenees and the Himalaya have a very unusual tectonic activity. This is something that is measured, can be seen, can be documented. These two mountain ranges behave differently to the others. Is this why the other world is here? Is this why, perhaps very lightly, that Mary Magdalene came to this region? Was she advised by Joseph of Arimathea to bring the teachings to the other world? Because the environment and the atmosphere here is just perfect for a spiritual teaching to be transmitted. We can see and hear and feel truth in this corner of France. because we are living alongside it. These valleys have caves that we can still walk into today. Caves where the living presence of centuries and maybe even thousands of years ago still do what needs to be done to a human mind to become a living grail, illuminated, extended, and directly connected to origins. The Cathars and other groups used these caves. This was where the Holy of Holies, the consolamentum, was given. This huge sacred rite that took a simple, regular, humble human being who was crying out for the full transformation, and through that hands-on prayer was given the full awakening, an awakening that lasted. Is this the gift of Mary Magdalene? People say that the Cathars are the spiritual descendants of Mary, and that they contained the true, unaltered teachings and mysteries of Yeshua and the community of the very first Christians. This land is absolutely soaked, saturated with that Sacred Heart transmission. And this land has stories and documented evidence that even before that time, this region prided itself on love, on sharing, on simplicity of union. So when Mary came, perhaps, with the teachings, it would have just fallen into the hearts of the local people with such ease and grace. They would have been positively thirsting to hear the good news. I believe, by experience, that you get called here. It's not a little whisper. It's not an occasional nudge. It is a strong pull of the heart from one heart to another. It is as if the heart of this land calls your own human heart back. And this would fit in quite nicely with a prophecy that was uttered by the last Cathar parfait in 1321. Guillaume de Bellibost cried out as his flesh was burning in the flames that in 700 years, when the laurel turns green, we shall return. Those 700 years comes to fruition in 2021. And that is why I say you get pulled strong. You cannot deny the pull. It is too colossal, too immense. Are we once again gathering? Can we hear the prophecy somewhere inside of us? Are we going to follow our heart and soul back to our motherland to re-establish once again those values of fin amour, the higher love, sharing, direct contact with our origins, praying together in the fields and forests, sharing food, living simply, staying humble, building a strong and dependable faith, seeing the world for what it is, and slightly taking a few steps backwards. I and my husband Pete would love to welcome you here and to facilitate your stay and perhaps show you the sights. Tune into what it is you need to feel and connect with. This is the ideal place to come when you feel lost, or to come and recalibrate. Perhaps go on a vision quest, because she's listening and she will most certainly deliver. So, my dear friends, that's about all I can say for now. But for those of you with the ears to hear, remember the prophecy. If that feels like that's something you're connected with, then perhaps put some time in your diary to return here in 2021. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this podcast opens up the doors of perception to something else tonight when you get into bed and remember what you've just heard.